In this video, we will learn how to use place value to name whole numbers. Let's quickly review the place value chart as we will use it for this lesson. After this lesson, you should be comfortable with naming whole numbers without referencing this chart. Here we have the place value chart, and if we remember, the orange names represent periods, which are digits grouped into threes that are separated by commas. These vertical columns label the ones, tens, and hundreds position in each period. Now, we will learn how to change a number in standard form to word form. In other words, we're going to change numbers written using digits to numbers written with words. Some important information about naming whole numbers is that a comma is used to separate the periods, just like it is in standard form. The ones period is not named. We don't use the word and. The word and is used for points and decimals. And for compound numbers, 21 through 99, the numbers in word form are hyphenated, such as the number 35 is written as 35 with a hyphen between these two words. Just as a reminder, these notes will be listed in the text below the video. So we'll go over 6 examples. We have 3 here, and we will move on to the next 3 when we finish these. We have this first number right here. We don't know how to name it yet, but we recognize that it has 2 periods, because I see this comma and I must have a period here and a period there. So I'm going to use this chart to help me fill out this number. So I have this number written out in my chart. Now let's begin naming it. So this first part, we start on the left side. We have 4 ones in the thousands period, or this we would call 4,000. Separate it with a comma because it's a new period. Now we have 711 ones. We don't name the ones period, so it just stays 711. Our number here, 4,711. Our next number is right here. Again, I notice it has 2 periods because it's separated by a comma here. So I'm going to use my chart to fill this out. So I have a 79 there and a 22 here. So let's take a look at this first period. This is 79,000. Separate it with a comma. Look at the next period. We just have 22 ones, or just 22. Remember, we don't label the ones when we're writing this. So this number is 79,022. Our third example, we have this number here. Again, I see it has 2 periods separated by a comma. So I'm going to begin filling out my chart. We have 501, 446 in this period. So let's begin with this first period. We have 501,000. We use a comma to separate the periods. Now we name this number. This number is 446 ones, or just 446. And notice how I hyphenated 46, because that's a compound number between 21 and 99. And also that I'm not saying and. This number is read as 501,446. We have 3 more examples here. So let's take a look at this first number. I notice that there are 3 periods. We have 1, 2, 3. So let's go to our chart and fill this out. So I go to my third period. I have 8, 004, 731. So let's try to name this. Starting with this first period, I have 8 million. Separate periods with a comma. And then I notice here I only have 4,000. And finally, this last period, I have 731 ones, or just 731. So this number right here is read as 8,004,731. Our next example is this number here. We notice it has 3 periods. So let's use our chart to help us fill this out. Our first period has 340. Next period has no value. And then we have 9 in the ones period. So let's start off by naming this first period here. We have 340 million. And we notice here that this is all zeros. So we have nothing in the thousands period. So we're not even going to name it. And we move on to the next period, the ones period, and we see that we just have 9 ones, or just 9. This number right here is read as 340,000,009. Our final example is this number, and we notice it has 4 periods. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 periods. So I'm going to be somewhere in the billions. So let's start out by writing out this first period. We have 55 billions. We have 991 millions. Nothing in the thousands. And 178 ones. So let's begin by naming the first period. This first period is 55 billion. Separate periods with a comma. The next period is 991 million. Separate it with a comma. I notice I have nothing in the thousands, so I don't need to name anything here. And then we are left with the ones period, and I have 178 ones, or just 178. And I'm going to write this on the bottom because I ran out of space. This number here is read as 55,991,178. So take a look at the written notes to keep track of all the little rules that we need to pay attention to when we are naming whole numbers.